Hello. So I explained in my last video about 30 days of maps, or the 30-day map challenges it's called, and you can look back at that link in the usual place for the full introduction. But I'm trying to see, in these submissions that people do on social media, is there any art being created, something that is more than just a map showing data, just a factual tool? So again, I think there's enough space for me to show some images here of the selection, and we'll see what we got. So day 6 with Raster was the point, raster images, or Raster, which is a term about how computers display images. So vectors, it's quite technical, but vector is the contrast. That's where the computer describes the geometries, kind of there's a point from here to here and turn it red. And that means if you change size, the line will still look like a line. Whereas raster, which this prompt is each pixel this is a red pixel, black, 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 next line, black, black, red, and so on. And so it's more every single point is described what it is. So if I load up the images, so yeah, sorry, I should explain also, raster in the terms of maps is normally used for aerial imagery because every point can be described what the camera saw, what colour, and kind of more statistical reasons like hexes that we had before. But you know, the pixel size can vary and that can change what maps you get. So on day 6 with raster as the prompt, Andrew created this. The pixels are 25 kilometers wide, which is quite big, and he used that to display roads in Britain. But I instantly recognised this, which art can do, can't it, right? And it's a bit geeky. It's definitely not the best image for showing the roads or the numbering system that they're trying to display, but because I had that link with it, the geekery that I'd explain, and if you know about British road numbers you would understand too. So I think I'd display that on my wall, which is the art test. And Josh did slightly different, but sorted the cells, sorted cells by their colour, the land size. So it's again pixelating it deliberately to create a visual stimulation, I think. And then this one was fun, non-practical map and strange to look at, so that's kind of art. In London apparently you're rarely more than 800 metres from a station, and that's why we get this blobbiness. So yeah, a weirdness, and not recognisably London, I don't think. On to day 7 then, and vintage maps. So maps in the past certainly were an art form and a really key crafting. It took a lot to craft them. So sharing existing or old maps for this prompt is a fair way to join the 30-day map challenge, I think. Many of those I admired scrolling through this, but I'm just sharing the ones, the maps that were made with modern data, because I think that's the gist of this video at least, but not restricted to that. And it can be really tricky to recreate those hand-drawn style maps. Well, hand-drawn, they were hand-drawn, and it's tricky to recreate them with a computer and the automation. But Steve here explained his reasoning that sometimes the modern maps give too much data. So this feels very recognisable as early 20th century maps that I've looked at in the past. That simplicity, mainly because they didn't have the tools or the time to create it, but he's used Ordnance Survey data to do this. Then Gipamando went even earlier into the 17th century. That kind of blurry fuzziness he actually showed later the map that he was inspired by, and it's a bit tricky to tell the difference, but yeah, very ancient map. Also had someone here mixed it with their day 5 prompt that was a journey. I thought I'd include this because it's fun for some people, and certainly made the art of maps kind of more tangible to people. This is the Marauders style map. It's kind of a old paper style map, but with those footprint animations. Yeah, I think it was quite fun, so I decided to include it. Lastly, I'm not quite sure what to make of this, but it was really detailed, close-up vintage style of close-up, because it's focusing on a modern transport style, and that's a cable car in London. So that kind of smushing, that changing, mixing of modern information and data with old style, really arty, and kind of also some interesting choices on what else it's chosen there. The day 8 prompt was Humanitarian Data Exchange, which is a data source. It includes OpenStreetMap in that data source. It's kind of place for people to get maps, which I think the focus of it being a specific data source, as some of the other prompts end up doing, means I didn't find many art-like contributions for this day, none that really spoke to me. I did think the lines of this image made the map almost kind of an unrelated bystander in this. Just the lines were the focus, those storms tracking through and hitting Vietnam. Quite shocking, but yeah, I mean, including that one at least, because it was interesting. And something, yeah. We'll cut that. Day 9, the prompt was only AI, artificial intelligence, and many people had reasons and practicalities not to participate on this day on the prompt. Fair enough to them. And this year, yeah, AI's largely been in outside of maps about generalized language models. So I think the artistry in that comes in figuring out the prompt that was put in. It's not really what the AI generated, but what you prompted. So when we're talking about giving prompts and with 30-day map challenge, I think it contradicts itself. So yeah, possibly you could use AI with your own prompt to make a map image and put that into your entry for this day, but the AI models aren't really designed for producing good or accurate maps, so you'll only get a demonstration of the limit of the AI model, basically. Yeah. So, still, the day did include this post, which I don't really understand the explanation, which, for most art, that's also a thing, not understanding the reasons. So, yeah, we'll throw it in there and we'll quickly skip to day 10. Day 10, pen and paper. Exciting, this one. Does it scare the digital map creators, or does it make their creativity go wild? So this one struck me the best, because some of that use of paper is 3D. So on the fridge or in an art gallery wall, it's art. I liked it, and it was actually the person Cedric here posting created this with his son working together, and it wasn't the only one on this pen and paper day on this prompt that people worked with their children or let their children post a thing. And then I'll throw in an adult only contribution. This one seemed appropriate. The squiggles here give it an art aspect. not just drawing the geography, but squiggling and making art within those bounds, within the borders of the geography, was quite fun. So moving on to day 11 to keep up the pace here. So there's an arty play on words again. Georgius created a map of Arctic hoops. So that's all the basketball hoops that you can find in the Arctic Circle, which is quite fun. Meanwhile, Jacob kind of played with the prompt here, which is all about the fun of hashtag 30-day challenge. And for the prompt Arctic, he looked at places that the Arctic Monkeys band have played. So referencing the music art form in his map art form there was quite fun. Day 12's prompt was time and space. So this meandering river was, yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? A meandering river is such an interesting subject anyway, but the different years merged together here. I think this is our art with a conversation about it. And then Steve did a video. It's such a flash that it's difficult for this to be practical, but he shows us what it's like to leave Earth and at the speed of light there. It's a good map prompt. I'm just going to cover day 13 as well in this video. So day 13 was a new tool, so it's a technicality, not quite an art prompt. The one that struck me was exploring this conversation I like, that they titled this London That's Not in London. And I grew up in London, and I had friends that they would claim they lived in London, but they weren't in a London borough, nor were they in the Transport for London zone, but yeah, they were inside the M25. So Andrew here's mixed the London boroughs he's taken out, but included what's within the M25, and it's this map that's not quite a map. Yeah, I think it's really exciting. It interests me, the blank spaces creating a map there. And I'm gonna just pause there because I think it's still good to break up these videos, because I think doing them all at once is tough, especially in the cold here. I've gone through all the days. It took quite a bit going through social media to try and find these prompts when I'm only a few days short. Twitter, X as it's known, I could only get so far. It seems they've restricted it too much. Anyway, I've got my selection and I will talk about them and show them in future videos, just slightly broken up. I hope that's okay. I'm also getting stricter in my selection, trying to make more of them be using OpenStreetMap data, because I think that's the fun bit. I think that's a real power of OpenStreetMap, that we can create different practicalities but also different art from the data. So I'll be stricter in that, and just, I mean, there's so many great images that I love them. I love looking at a map, but trying to look at what's arty and practical. So if the videos have been too long or too many options, they'll be catching up. If there's not enough, then sorry, but go and look at the hashtag and wait for the next video, which won't be too long. Cheers.